Hey guys, welcome to my week in review here for my Emini S&P 500 ES trading, July 26th to the 29th. And overall, a really quite solid week, 15.75 points. We'll take a look at some of the charts for each day, but if you're interested in a little bit more detailed breakdown of how I trade each of these days, there are recaps on our YouTube channel for that. But as you can see here, pretty good. 3 winning days. I actually had a losing day in there, which is kind of the probably focus of some of this video here, just in terms of a couple lessons from that day. But in the end, even though I had that losing day, ended up being quite a good result and quite a few more wins than losses. So 66% win rate here. I'm pretty much happy with anything above 50%, and most of the times I can be quite easily above that. But anything above 50%, my wins are usually at least 2 times as big as my losses. So even if I'm only winning half the time, there's a really big edge there, and I can usually reach my sort of weekly targets in that 10-15 point range is where I'm pretty happy. Often can exceed that, but even if I'm only winning half the time, I can usually reach that level. So overall, yeah, definitely a good one. So starting things off on Tuesday, we had a pretty good swinging day. We had kind of moved our way up from that market open, wasn't really able to latch onto that. But once the news came out, we failed to follow through. We eventually broke through this pre-market high, and we were able to catch some movement to the downside. This one here, the only one that I sort of regretted a little bit, because obviously a lot more profit available there, but it really took off, and there wasn't a good chance to move my profit target out of the way. So sometimes that happens. Usually it doesn't accelerate quite that quickly, and I'm able to adjust things a little bit and kind of move that profit target and bring in stops, kind of trail a log and take a bigger run, but not in this particular case. But once things took off like this, and even when we're getting kind of extended, there's just so much momentum here. Still some pretty good opportunities to take things down a little bit later on, but a little bit of a missed opportunity there. But still, overall, definitely a solid day with 5.5 points on the Tuesday. And Wednesday here was the FOMC day, so that statement interest rate stuff coming out in the afternoon. So can limit things a little bit, but usually get some good swings until you get into kind of that afternoon, that New York lunch, and then things tighten up. So there wasn't a ton of potential in here. Actually kind of got chopped up a little bit in terms of trying to go short as we moved down off the open and trying to go long as we came back above the level. But once things actually broke, there's good opportunity for deep level continuation within a good trending move, and then another short out of that for another point. So was able to bank a little bit of profit before we got into right around that lunchtime Eastern. So again, pretty good day, 3.5 points. And here on Thursday is where kind of the sort of lessons of the week come in, because you can see it wasn't a great result. Lost a couple points, and that can happen sometimes. And I talked about it a little bit when I did the Thursday recap, but having a losing day isn't that big a deal. I mean, a lot of people will aim for just a couple points a day, and they'll really limit their overall potential in terms of what they can make when when the market's moving well. But then you get one losing day, and it obviously cancels out a winning day, right? So it can be difficult to kind of make progress. So I prefer to really just keep trading if the market's going well and not limit my profit potential. And that makes it so when you have a losing day, it's not a big deal. You really shouldn't fear the potential of having a losing day, because let's say you are winning 50% of the time, or even if you're winning 75% of the time, unless you're trading 15 or 20 times in a day, which is pretty excessive for most retail traders. But unless you're trading that many times in a day, you can't necessarily guarantee that your edge is kind of going to get a chance to play out. So if you're only taking 2, 3, 5 trades in a day, sometimes even if you're winning 75% of the time, you could still get a streak of a few losses, and you're just not going to have much to show for it at the end of the day, and not because of any fault of your own. You can take good trades that fit your plan, and they just don't work out. And that's really what happened to me here. I took some good trades. I'm happy with them. I'd take them again anytime without hesitation, and it just didn't work out for me. I lost a couple of points, and I'm perfectly fine with that. It's just 2 trades. The outcome of a single day is not really that important. What matters is over the course of a week, over the course of a month, when you have a larger sample size of trades. As you can see, over the course of a week, I did have about 15 trades, and that's usually more than enough to let my edge play out, because I have a very good expectancy on most of my trades thanks to that strong risk-reward ratio. So I think when you kind of let go of that idea of putting that pressure on yourself to be profitable every day, and stop focusing on the outcome of each individual trade, and you start looking at that bigger picture, trading in general becomes a lot easier. The other thing with this day that's worth mentioning is notice that we're very much in kind of a whipsawing environment here, where prices quite erratic, very quickly changing direction, just shooting one way to the other, and those sorts of environments are usually very difficult to profit in, and they are a little bit unusual as well. Statistically, they just don't come up that often. So if you have an approach that can profit from this sort of situation, it's often not going to do that well when markets are a little bit more normal. So when I hit one of these sort of days and things are just kind of chopping up, you usually can identify that environment pretty quickly and then just kind of stand aside. And that's essentially what I did, later on. I didn't really try to force anything, try to force my trades. And that's usually going to be kind of that best course of action, because when the market's doing something very unusual, jumping around erratically, that's just kind of sit on your hands, protect capital, wait until the market starts to move in a more smooth fashion, wait until it normalizes a little bit, and then start trading again. So with whipsawing type of environment, you often do take a couple losses along the way. You can usually keep them a little bit smaller, but once things start to make a move, you get a good trend. The line is one good trend pays for them all. So I'm never too concerned when I get in these sort of environments, and I don't want to try and chase price. I don't want to try to find ways that I can ensure that I'm profitable in this type of environment, because I know it's not going to come up very often, and I know that it's often not going to work out for me if I start being that aggressive in normal market conditions. And here's my final trading day on Friday, which turned out to be a really good day. Actually, could have been even better. Notice some of these arrows here where if I'd been trading, because I started a little bit late, if I'd been trading a bit earlier, I could have made probably an easy 2 points here, maybe more. Might have taken a loss there. In hindsight, it's 2020, of course, but normally I'd probably take all three of those trades, and even a later one in here that I probably should have taken. But with the trend, I managed to really capitalize on that, which is always nice when it happens. It's not necessarily easy when you get these bullish trends. A lot of the time, there's lots of reasons, lots of little things you can see that can look like kind of warning signs. It's easy to convince yourself out of trading with the trend, and we all know we should be trading with the trend, but it's easy to kind of call a potential top, have a little bit of fear that maybe it's not going to follow through and that you don't hit the button and take the trade. So I usually try to have the mentality that I'm going to trade that trend until it bends. So I'm going to keep trading it until things start to change in terms of the market structure, and that's all I did here. Just kept going along the way, more aggressive earlier, started to get more conservative as things started to slow down, except for I did actually take an aggressive one late. I was just looking for a quick pop into the all-time high there. Didn't happen, but there was good momentum, so I was fine with that. But overall, well traded, and that was really all it was. It was just kind of forcing my way in because I had that trend behind me. And that sounds simple, sounds easy, but it's not necessarily that easy, and it's something that a lot of newer traders have to work on because they always want to look to call a top. They're always convinced the top is probably being put in, and you just have to keep trading those until things actually start to shift, until that structure starts to change. So overall, definitely happy with the week. Like I said, 15 points, is a really solid result. And even with that losing trade in there, it still worked out to be a pretty good one. So hopefully you guys had a solid week overall as well. And let's hope we continue with some good trading conditions as we get into August, which can sometimes be a slower month, but may not be. We might see a more active one. Last year was certainly active. This year could be fairly active as well. So thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next recap.